Hey, 149 shaves is going to be today's mark on this one blade. But the brush I'm going to use is a new one to me. Looks awesome. And this is a handle from CravingShaving. And I put a finest badger in it from Stirling. That's a brush that's really highly recommended. I'm just going to put it in some water now. I've had it in water for maybe a minute, but we're going to just let it soak for a few more minutes. So here's the Nacet, and we're going to throw it in my Sheraton. It's a 1938 vintage Gillette razor. It's an open comb. If you don't shave very often, so here's the actual blade itself, the business side. I'm putting that down all the time just for experimentation. In general use, doesn't matter whether you flip blades or not. It's all one edge on both sides, you know. So here's the Sheraton. And if you skip shaves, then an open comb razor might be a really good option for you, because it cuts through larger, longer growths a little easier than the closed comb. Since this is my first real shave with this brush, second really, but with a nice handle that I wanted, and I wanted to make sure that I picked a soap that I knew would perform really well. So I picked Icarus as the base from Declaration Grooming, and the scent is Sellout, and I believe that's Creed's Aventus is the inspiration for that. It's a very light scent. You get it pretty nicely from the tub, at least in a small way, but I am going to try it out today and see if it's too light for me to keep. You know, Executive Man from Stirling is a similar scent, as well as Fine Platinum, and A&E, Ariana and Evans has one, I believe. So there are other options if this is not going to be strong enough for me, or if maybe I like the Stirling base a little bit better than the Icarus base. Icarus is a little bit lower structure, so it looks a little different, behaves a little different, feels a little different, because it's got different fats and stuff in it, milks and fats, goat milk, bison tallow, and sheep's tallow, or whatever it is. All right, so splash my face a little bit. 1.5 days of growth, basically. Shake most of the water out of the brush. This brush, this knot holds a lot. It's a 26 millimeter knot, holds a good bit of water. All right, now, you know, somebody said to bloom Icarus before you use it, and it's really amazing, but I keep forgetting. All right, so I'm just going to do a 40-second load, and 20 is going to roll around right there. So we'll go to the 0 mark. I had such a good experience with this knot the first time I tried it. And it's one that's not very expensive. It's a badger, and a lot of people get referred by online members to the Stirling's Finest Badger brushes. And finest, if you're new to the shaving world, it's an actual proper noun. It's not being used as just an adjective. There's best badger, finest badger, super badger. There are different names, and they all mean something. And finest is kind of in the middle of the road area, and for many people, it presents a nice blend of still having backbone, so it doesn't get floppy, but still having really soft tips. All right, so I cleaned off the threads of my soap tub. And this is how a 40-second load looks of Icarus on a 26 millimeter badger knot. Now, take a look at this handle. Pretty cool, huh? I ordered just the handle only, and so then I extracted the knot out of the Stirling handle. It was an inexpensive brush. I brought a factory seconds version, and so I didn't mind just destroying the handle. I don't have a bandsaw. I could have used that to cut it. I use more of a chisel type method, and as well as a Dremel to finish it up, and then just siliconed it into the handle hole right here. And here we go. So my usual lather bowl lately. Nice one from Roger Quintero, his designs. It's a 3D printable bowl. If you have a 3D printer, you can download the files via the link on the video description. This guy's taking a second to kind of come up, so let's go ahead and add some water. Maybe the Icarus takes a little bit longer to load, you know. That's all right. We'll just watch it, and the good thing is it's easy to add water. Go back to the puck and load for another few seconds. Should have checked my Icarus notes. Because see, it's building up really slowly compared to a lot of soaps. But let's I just went ahead and added the other teaspoon as well. So this nice long handle gives a great grip for this kind of operation. Just sit there and do this all day. There we go. Boom. Looks like we got into a part of the brush that had the soap built in with that water. You know, this is such a big brush that it's possible it could take a little bit more. Big knot. Possible it could take a little bit more water to make everything happen. And it holds a lot of soap inside of it. Yeah, that's looking good. So I'm going to refill my syringe. So put in a little bit more than a half a teaspoon. I didn't want to quite commit to another full teaspoon. And like I said, this is kind of a low structure lather, low structure soap, and so that means that it's just not going to get quite as big and puffy. It's going to stay kind of gluey. And so don't, sometimes I have overwatered it because I was waiting for it to get a little bigger. All that. So look at how big this knot is. I've been using Boars for quite a while because I've just been really enjoying comparing 7 of my Boar brushes and doing videos on them. I haven't done Badger in a while. Alright. So it looks really slick, shiny. I think shiny is neither a good nor bad. I've had plenty of good soaps that just didn't have a gloss to them at all. The scent is there, but it's really quite subdued. I think this is maybe the Aventus you might want to get if you don't like strong soaps. You like them pretty weak. Maybe if existing Aventus type shaving soaps out there are bothering your skin because of some ingredient in the perfume, then this might be a one to try. Get a sample of it. I'm glad I bought it used. Let me try it. All right. I got a feeling we're good, but let's just kind of feel it with my fingers. Nice and slippery. Yeah, let's give that a shot. It might be on the wet end of where I might like it. Wouldn't want to get too much wetter maybe. So what I'll do is just not have very much water on my face between rinses and things like that, if that's true. Now, one of the cool things about this bowl that obviously you probably noticed is this is a brush rest, and it's also a thumb holder there to help you if you hold it that way. But I hold it by the bottom, by this flange on the base here. But it's such a long handle, I wondered if there would be a problem, and sure enough, it does sit there, but it really is precariously balanced, especially when dry. It's got a lot of lather on there. It looks like it balances okay. But even when dry, I could move it down to where this ridge collar here, that can be the holder there. So either way, it's all good. So I think this is just a wonderful design that Roger came up with. Works really well for every brush that I've tried it with. All right, a little water on my face, not much. And then let's just kind of take off the excess. Make sure we don't have too much. All right. Oh, hey, I'm getting a nice whiff of this. So it still has some backbone. It's definitely not floppy, but nice soft tips. Badgers don't change too much during their use. Most of them don't, unlike the boars, which significantly change with use. But they do change a little bit, maybe in the first few weeks. Now, if it's one that has gel tips, then it could change, because I've got a Fanturian by That Darn Rob, and it really likes it better when I soak it for a good long while before the shave. It just transforms the tips, makes them a lot more, so it's noticeable, a lot softer. All right, well, there we go. I don't know, the smell seems to be, when I started, I was able to get, feel it and get it. Very minimal right now, just on my face without moving the air around me. It's pretty minimal. It's barely detectable. All right. All right, so 149 uses. And this blade, at its old age, does require that you either do, at least for me, about 4 passes, or if you blade buff like I do and kind of repeat in the same area a couple times before you move on, then you can do it in 3 passes. My skin doesn't seem to get any irritation by the buffing as long as I've got a good lather. And I don't have super tough skin. It does get bothered sometimes. All right, yeah, I can smell it as I'm shaving here, so that's nice. It's better than I remembered. All right, pause. So I think did a rinse there. So I think the lather consistency is pretty much perfect. Worked out just right. All right. Also, what's remarkable is the I shave with cool water or whatever comes out of the cold tap. And when I first put this brush on my face for lathering up that first pass, it was cold. With smaller knots, bores, they don't hold that heat. They're less dense. There's plenty of time when you're mixing up the lather to have that heat dissipate. But this guy's so dense, he held it in. And that's one of the nice things about a Badger for guys who like to shave with hot lather or warm lather. I found a tidbit the other day that if you use boiling water in a scuttle or a situation where you're using really, really hot water to try to keep your lather warm, that can actually kill the bubbles. So you just want to use warm water if you like that. Just use warm water instead of super hot. All right, lather looks good. Again, I can kind of smell it, which is nice. Not super strong, but if you like Icarus, you're a big Icarus fan, and you like the Aventus type fragrance, then I think it's not going to blow your socks off with its scent power, but it's there. rinsing easily from the razor. I don't really need the open comb factor because I just enjoy shaving so much that I rarely miss very much time at all. But this one just happens to have the geometry that is, I don't know, it just matches this blade for my skin, for my beard, whiskers. And so it's let me keep going quite a long ways, and it's definitely going to get me farther than 150. Wouldn't be surprised if I got to 170, even 200, and rinse. Well, I'm glad I did the 40-second load. I'm about to put on my third pass, and I do have plenty of lather, an extra pass, no problem. I mean, maybe two, but this is the kind of margin that I do like to have. Goodness, this brush is still keeping that lather cold. Don't mind it at all. I don't like waiting for the hot water. I like the bulb shape, or the hybrid bulb shape that is of the brush. It's kind of rounded. The fan shape is another super popular one, especially among a lot of the finest Badger brushes. Stirling has those as well for this type knot. But that's just, I don't seem to like that as much. The bulb seems to lather. I mean, it seems to apply the lather to my face a little nicer. Or at least the way I like it. So that's one of the reasons I got this. They have the fan shape in a more ergonomic handle than the one that the bulb came in. And so I may not have had to replace the handle if I'd have gotten that one, but I didn't like the fan shape. All right. All right, I got a message on my phone, had to clip away and take care of that. And one nice result of that is that we can see that the lather stays nice, doesn't dissipate. You can start to see the pink of my skin coming through that, but a lather doesn't need to be so thick. It really doesn't. To be slick, protective, and properly hydrate, to latch onto your skin, to be able to protect it, it actually needs to be fairly wet. And so if you've got those big Santa Claus looking beards like the ads like to show, they do that because they think that's what people assume is a good lather. Because also most people use the foams. And so of course the foams are really foamy and all that. But, oh hey, while we're here, I thought I would show you, since I'd been mentioning the brush shapes. This is the fan. This is that Fanchurian I was telling you about. And he likes a good long soak, even though he's a Badger. Most Badgers just get them wet and you're okay. Or I do like to soak all my Badgers just a couple of minutes, but a lot of people don't. But this is the fan shape. Got the corners here. This, I believe, is more of a hybrid shape. If you were to make this a little more rounded here on the sides, then you'd maybe have a more true bulb shape. But this is kind of, this hybrid type shape is more what I enjoy. And the reason is, I believe that when I'm spreading the lather across my face this way, the fan shape just kind of has more of a ridge or a corner doing that. And so it does more like a bulldozer action and moves the lather, rather than this, which has a little softer edge, and it kind of leaves more behind. At least that's how it feels, that's how it looks when it's happening. And so that's why my preference is there. All right, so now let's third pass. Feels great, super comfortable. One thing I want to try is leaving that first pass of lather on my face a little bit longer, because I understand and have heard from different sources that in addition to the splash face with water, that starts getting your hairs wet. And many would argue that makes them easier to cut. But then the lather is a second process that conditions the hairs and softens them. There is a minority that I've spoken with that doesn't want to make the hairs softer. Their argument is, you've got a little sapling you need to cut down. You don't want it bending away every time you try to cut it. You want it to stay upright so that you can make a good cut. Yeah, there's might be a good thought. But then if you're actually softening the hairs, and I believe that you are, otherwise I don't think they would get loose and floppy when they get wet. So I believe you're softening them when you get them wet. Softer items are a little bit easier to cut through than harder ones. So that's why I have continued with the wetting my face for a few minutes before the shave, and so I'll also start to maybe letting that first lather soak on there for a little bit more. But had a terrific shave just now. This particular pass, just smooth, very enjoyable and smooth. So this blade, oh yeah, that looks great. Just the tips. I don't see any length. Maybe one hair, but very nice. So nice shave with this old blade. Still working really well, and just in 3 passes with, of course, the blade buffing. One time I tried not doing any buffing and I had to do 4 passes, which was kind of nice because I got to use more lather and all that stuff. But I don't know, maybe I'll go back and try that again. So the scent is soft. It's light. I ended up with more lather, but it's a great looking lather, and that's about as much margin as I like to have after a shave, just for a touch up or something like that. Some people say that these brushes are lather hogs. Well, it depends. How much lather you're gonna leave in the brush. Let's do a little squeezing. I mean, that's an extra probably 2 passes, 1 pass, something like that. And that's it. So I mean, it's not really hogging any lather. It's not using any more soap than a smaller brush. So I think that's kind of a misnomer. I think it's a user error using up that much lather. So the rinses have been great with this soap base. This Icarus is terrific, and I like the scent. The rinses there was a little bit of creaminess to it, but it was a thin creaminess, not oily, but it was nice and slick. It felt great, but it wasn't. But it was kind of a light, thin layer of that, and so I liked it. I liked it a lot. So it's not going to give you a blast of the scent like the Stirling will, or maybe some others. The Fine Platinum, though, is another one that's also light. The the Aventus scent of that one is light as well. This one may be a little stronger if my memory serves me correctly. Maybe one of these days I'll have to do a few days where I have them all together and do them one after each other to give a good comparison. But the water we used, I used 3¼ teaspoons of water for the 40-second load on the soap. Depending on your brush, if you have a brush that's maybe more scritchy, the tips aren't as comfortable, and has more backbone, a lot of times that will stir up more soap, so you have less load time that you need to do. So maybe that brush might require 30-second load time. But this guy right here, I was very happy with the 40-second. A lot of people use this type of knot, and this again is the second time I've used it. I've got a hair bristle, and I don't even mind any bristle loss the first 60, 50 uses of any knot, because otherwise the manufacturer would have to spend a lot of time combing and trying to get those hairs out. I don't mind doing that myself and saving tons of money. So I'm really happy with this. It will probably change a little bit over the next couple of weeks, lose a little bit of the backbone. I wondered if I set this guy a little bit too deep into the handle. I did not put any spacer in there. I use silicone, so it should be able to pop out pretty easy if I want to raise it up just a little bit. Like in 2-3 weeks of uses, if I still might like it to be a little more floppy, a little less backbone, then I can do that. I have that ability. But I'm hoping it just does that on its own, and then I don't have to do that work anymore. But love the handle. Worked really well. You can grab it like this. You can also tuck it into your palm more and hold it by this front part. So there's a couple different ways. It did get slippery if there was a soap on the handle, but by and large the soap was kept up here, and it just took a rinse to get everything straight. So I really like the coloring. There's some guys that I like kind of the darker colors, classic black and mod tweaks to black. But there's a lot of guys out there that like yellows and oranges and reds, and that's not me. Maybe if it's a deep dark red, then that'd be kind of cool. But I'm glad everybody has their style, because if I get one and I don't like it, then there's probably somebody out there who does. All right, so I'm going to clean up. Oh, you know what? Let's do a post shave. Skin feels good. No irritation at all. I don't really see too much redness at all. This usual spot right here, I don't feel any irritation right there, but it does appear red after a shave in a lot of cases. And I'll clean up, get back with you. And what should I use but Executive Man from Stirling in terms of a balm post shave? I think Stirling's balms are pretty good. If you have dry skin, you may want to shop for something a little more substantial and hydrating, but I think your average person is going to be very pleased with Stirling. If you like menthol, then Soap Commander makes a really good balm. They have an unscented one that doesn't have menthol, but all the rest of them pretty much do. I don't really care for the menthol. And I did splash just a little bit of water on my face to make spreading the balm real easy. All right, there we go. More cleanup. So with this use, this guy is definitely bloomed out. He was not this much open when we started, but dropped it on a towel to help dry it off. Here's another little bristle. And so I'm really happy with it so far. Can't pass too many judgments on it with just 2 uses under it, but I think it's going to end up really nice and enjoyable. And if you affix your brush knots with silicone, they're pretty easy to pop out. And so if I turn out not to like the knot, but I love the handle, I can just yank the knot, replace it with something else, and move on. So really happy with this guy so far. Look at the density there. Maggard Razors just released a SHD, super high density knot, that is kind of along the lines of the this type of brush, the Declaration Grooming. This one's the B5, and so I think if you want a high density knot, a Badger one, you don't have to pay those crazy prices for the Declaration Grooming ones, especially retail. I don't do that. But that Maggard knot might be a great one for you to try out. It bats a lot higher than its pay grade. So really happy with this guy. We will find a place for him and use him again soon. All right. I think that Executive Man balm is not really producing too much in the terms of smell. Just light. It's very light. Now it's old. It's a couple years old, so that could be part of it. But still, I'm enjoying the scent. It's a light scent, and maybe that's good with this particular cologne. It might be nice not to have it be obnoxious and overwhelming and a little too strong. So there we go. I've told you about how well the razor did this shave. The soap, of course, was terrific. I think for Declaration, my preference might be the Bison base. It's just a little fattier. The lather builds up just a little taller. I think I like the feel of that kind of slickness just a little better. but this is still, it's wonderful. They're both great. But if the shaving world tends to move along the lines of the Excelsior base from Barrister and Mann, and this Icarus base from Declaration Grooming, a lot of those are kind of the low structure bases. I'll definitely miss the other stuff, but I don't think I have anything to worry about anytime soon, right? Especially with all the soaps I've got stored up. So we're good. It's a nice shave, good face feel afterwards. Balm worked well, and +1 on the scent. Sure, I might like to have the scent just a little stronger, but I think we're good. All right, so I hope this helped you in some way. It's helped me, because one more shave is 150 uses on this Nacet, and I'll be able to stop and use some of my other razors, more mild razors and different blades for a little bit before I keep on tromping with the Nacet. Again, the Nacet and the Sheraton. The Nacet's the first blade that I have started to marathon. There are plenty other blades that people have taken past 100. Feather, Astra, Balzano, Gillette Silver Blue, Gillette Platinum. Let's see, I think one of the 7 o'clocks was definitely listed. So it's not just the Nacet that can go a long way. And it's not just this kind of razor that will do it either. It's going to vary per person probably. So I just want to make that clear as well. But I just heard a report from one of my internet viewers that they snatched up some Nacets and were really enjoying good shaves with them too. So I'm glad that their face happened to match up with the blade like mine does. And so good, happy shaves to that guy. All right, well, I think we're done. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care. Good night.